Hi, this is a quick video explaining my pulse welder for TIG welder. As you can see, it's all 3D printed. It stands on the 4 feet on the bottom. I'll just tilt it back for now, so I'll keep it in the frame. And this is the pedal. It's geared from, just get this in. It's geared from 10k to 0. 3D printed in a shell. But it's got bearings and I'm just letting the cat in. It's got bearings and nylon washers with a 5mm shaft, so it's super smooth. Let's quickly move this out of the way. I'll quickly explain to you how this works. So basically, you've got the on time and off time of the pulse and the background current. This is to turn the unit on, and this is the trigger for the pedal. That's just the main power button. It's controlled by a PIG controller, 0 to 5 seconds pulse. So you can go from 0.2 milliseconds to 5 seconds for the on and the off time. The foot pedal you can use on its own. When you plug this unit into it, so you'll have, this is I'll explain that bit in a minute. So you've got the main wire from the pedal to the unit, and then from the pedal to the welder. So what you do, you can plug the wire from this into your welder, use the pedal as a standalone pedal, and when you plug this unit in and power it, it'll switch over from the pedal to this unit, so then you can use the pulse function from this unit through the pedal to your welder. On the back there's a simple 4-pin bypass, so if you've got a cheap welder with just 2 pins, you'll be able to use the pulse function but not the pulse function, the trigger function, but you won't be able to use the pedal. That's where this switch over box comes in. Let's move these out of the way a minute. I'll get a bit of paper and I'll explain how that works. So basically, let's get this in focus. I'll turn the exposure down a bit. It's white in there a bit. So you'll have the pot on your welder with the 3 connections. Hopefully you can see this. Most of the time it's 10k pot, so you'll have this got board, controller pedal and the power. So then say you've got the welder PCB and you'll have the 3 wires to the pot, and down here you'll have the 2-pin switch for your torch. That's basically, let me get this in focus, but it's basically what a cheap welder will have. I'm not saying cheap welder, but a basic welder. So what you'll either do, if this pot's soldered to the board, you'd have to unsolder it from the board, or if you've got most of the time it's a cable, you can just cut the cable. So then you'd run the 3 wires into the unit, the 3 wires from your welder, and then the best thing to do is just drill the front of your welder and put the new connector in, because you need more pins anyway. So then you'll have the 3 connectors to this unit, and then the 2 wires to your switch, which you just link off. So what this enables to do, when you turn this unit on, it bypasses from the board, well, from the pot into your pedal and back through to the board. But this will give you a 5-pin plug on the front as well, so you can have your power and the switch. It's basically turning a cheap welder into something which you can use a pedal, pulse welder and everything. So that's just that one basic thing. I'll get rid of that in a minute. A fresh bit of paper. There's all junk on the back of that, so I don't know if it's showing through too much. I'm not the best explaining this, so you'll have to bear with me. So this is the main unit. So you've got basically a pulse will look like this. Quickly explain. Mostly, if you mean about the TIG welder foot pedal, mostly I'd say most of you already know how this works anyway. But just say this is 0 amps up at the top of this side of the first pulse here. At the top of the pulse you got, say, 100 amps. So is that, let me just turn that down. Let's see, I think it's white now. So when you press the pedal, so that's pressing the pedal, you go from 100 amps, from 0 amps, sorry, to 100 amps. So this will be off time, which is the first button. To say we set it for 5 seconds. And 5 seconds on that one as well, make it easy. It's actually off time, this is on time. The background current, so when you press the pedal and it pulses from 0 to 100 amps. The background current would be, say, if you set it to 20%, say, would be here. So it would stop the off time dropping down to 0 amps. So if you set it to 20%, or no, you get 20 amps, say, 20 amps. So it pulses between 20 amps and 100 amps. So wherever you set, so if you set it to 50%, it pulses from 50 amps to 100 amps. If you understand what I'm trying to do, and that's if I understand what I'm trying to get at as well. But anyway, that's the basics of the background. Another option with this, so you got the on button. So that's the main power button. You can press the on button. It isn't wired, it's 12 volt. It operates with 12 volts. At the moment it's operated by a PIG chip to do the timing control, and it's all analog for the pulse. So I will be swapping over to digital with an LCD display and everything and all that later on. But I think for now this works both ways because it's universal for any welder. So if your welder's 15 volt output on the pins, you can input 15 volts out into that and you get 15 volts back. 5 volts into that, get 5 volts back. So this is like the practical most universal unit you could use basically. Let me start with the cat because the cat wants to keep going in and out. There's a pain in the arm. So, but anyway, so once you power the unit on with the left power button, it'll pulse all the time. So you can use the bypass and it just keep pulsing. So what will happen, it'll pulse off and on. So anytime, so it just keep repeating. Say if you put the pulse at 5 seconds on, 5 seconds off, it'll keep repeating. So whenever you press the pedal, no matter where it is in the pulse cycle, it'll start on that pulse cycle. So that's okay in a way, but if you're doing precision work, you can put the second button, which is the trigger. So as soon as you activate the foot pedal with the trigger, it will only start from say you got 5 seconds there off, 5 seconds on. It will always trigger from the beginning of the pulse. So say if you got 1 millisecond on, 1 millisecond off, not that much, say 0.5 seconds, 0.5 seconds off, it will always start from the beginning of the pulse. So say if you want your dimes when you're welding all the same, that's probably the best option, because whenever you press the pedal, it's always going to fire from the beginning of the pulse to give you the perfect weld. So, and you can use this as a cold weld aspect as well, because you could turn the second pot to 5 seconds and this to say 0.5. So then your pulse would be 0.5 seconds and 5 seconds on. So that'd be 5 secs, and that'd be 0.5. So then you could spot something for say 0.5 seconds, and as long as you lift off the pedal with 0.5, it won't weld again. So say if you had like something really delicate to weld, I'll shut the door in a minute, the cat's in a pain in the arse. So you could press the pedal, do 0.5 second weld, let off the pedal, re-press the pedal for 0.5 second weld. I mean, you could turn down to 0.5 each one, but and just carry on pulsing if you get what I mean. That's the basic idea. So I've got a few upcoming things as well. So I'll see if you're interested in this, subscribe to the channel, because I will be releasing all the circuits, the 3D printing files. I've got a few more projects coming up as well. I've got a YAG laser welder, which I'm going to be welding 0.2mm wire. I've got a rotary jig controller, because to this pulser unit I'm going to add a rotary jig controller, a rotary table, and a wire feed, so you can time the wire and the rotary table's control and the pulse, so that'll all be an add-on. But I like this version because there's the least amount of things wrong with it in my mind. But I have started to make a, show you, this was a handheld pulse. I've took most of the bit out of it now because obviously, and this had 18650 batteries. So you didn't need a plug-in power supply, because for this unit you need a plug-in 12V power supply to the wall. It's just a standard 12V adapter. This had 18650 batteries. It's basically the same as that, but in a hand control. But the next step for this, I was going to put an LCD display, and I was probably going to keep the pots, so you got a visual display of the percentages. But that's later. That's a later one down the road. So this unit, I'm going to have the Wi-Fi controller and the rotary jig controller added into it. So you could basically turn the rotary table 10mm, say, time the wire 0.5mm of wire feed, and then a 0.5 seconds weld, anything in between that. I've got a torch controller with the TIG torch, a snap-on controller for the current control. I've got one of them which I'm working on as well. And then I've got a spool gun controller, so I'm going to be using a spool gun motor, and basically I'm stripping the spool gun down and using the motor and the tube wire feed for the wire feed for TIG welding gun. So that's why the controller will be, so that'll all be linked together. The YAG laser welder is going to be a CNC YAG laser welder for welding 0.2 to 0.5mm wire. So that's another project I've got on the go. I'm just waiting for parts to come in for that. But basically this is going to be sort of like an all-in-one weld station, so I'm going to keep adding features to it, so it's sort of like a multifunctional. So I've even got a project here on welding some wheels, so I need the rotary jig I've made to turn and weld around the wheel to keep the heat down. So I'm just trying to think what else. Yeah, I think that's it for now anyway. So that's the basic gist of this. The pedal's got a switch over unit, like I say, so you can use that on its own or plug the pulser in. The switch over unit, the bypass lead. I'm just trying to think if I've got anything. Oh, this is my little test unit I made to actually test the pedal. Make sure I've got the wiring right. So, yeah, so thanks for watching. Like I said, subscribe though if you're interested in this stuff, because I've got a lot of projects coming up. But I want to release the files, the circuits. The circuit, what's in with the PIG controller. I don't know whether a lot of people will be able to make that, but if not, I can always sell the board with the PIG programmed. It'll be cheap, so it's, you know what I mean. So if you buy the board, you can just print everything else up. And even this aluminium, it's basically 1.2mm aluminium bent. I've got a sheet bender and a shear, but you could do all this band super simple with a simple bend, a couple of blocks of wood. It's nothing special. Or you could always, to be honest, I could always chuck in a 3D print for this outer bit. I could model that and so you could 3D print the whole lot. You probably have to be a bit thicker, obviously, because of the 3D print for the strength. But the 4mm plates with the tread I've got on the top, that is strengthened to the 3D print side, so yeah, I might release the file. I'll quickly draw the files up for that as well, because a lot of people I know struggle with stuff like that. But anyway, yeah, thanks for watching. Speak to you all later.